Okay, stand for the pledge, please. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I call this meeting of the Town of Plattsburgh Town Board to order for April 21, 2014. Roll call, please.
Bernie Bassett.
Here.
Thomas Wood.
Here.
Mark Manning.
Here.
Michael Cashman.
Here.
Gerard Bernadette.
Here.
James Coffey.
Here.
And Rick Collins.
Resolution number 137, approving the minutes of the previous meetings.
Resolved that the minutes of April 7th and April 14th, 2014 be approved and the reading of the minutes be dispensed.
Have a motion.
So moved.
Mr. Cashman, second.
Second.
Mr. Renner. Any discussion?
Resolution for the women's hockey team, recommending was supposed to be 136, the number wasn't on it.
It's not in the minutes?
In the minutes, it just says 13. Add a 6. It's the second one, it was the
Oh, okay.
last meeting.
13-136, which would be.
So it just says 13, but I'll just put a 6 on the end and you've got that right. So with that correction, I'm okay.
Oh, no, Rick Collins.
I had noticed it before, resolution 134 in those minutes. As if we work down from the title. Okay, never mind, scratch. All right, anything else?
I think that corrects it.
Yes. Yeah. Any other discussion? Roll call.
Thomas Wood.
Yes.
Mark Manning.
Yes.
Michael Cashman.
Yes.
Gerard Bernadette.
Yes.
Bernie Bassett.
Yes, resolution carries. Resolution 138, abstract 1B.
Resolved that the abstract of auditor claims number 1B-14, 611 to 741 for $203,731.39. An abstract 1B-14, 150 to 161 prepays in the amount of $418,369.43 be received as reviewed by the audit committee, and the supervisors hereby authorized to pay said abstract.
Have a motion.
So moved.
Mr. Renadette, second.
Second.
Mr. Cashman, any discussion? Roll call.
Thomas Wood.
Yes.
Mark Manning.
Yes.
Michael Cashman.
Yes.
Gerard Bernadette.
Yes.
Bernie Bassett.
Yes, resolution carries. Resolution 139, dog control officer's monthly report.
Resolved to receive and place on file a report from David Duquette, Town Dog Control Officer for the month of March 2014.
Motion.
So moved.
Mr. Manick, second.
Second.
Mr. Wood, any discussion? Roll call.
Thomas Wood.
Yes.
Mark Manning.
Yes.
Michael Cashman.
Yes.
Gerard Bernadette.
Yes.
Bernie Bassett.
Yes, resolution carries. Resolution 140, highway superintendent's monthly report.
Resolved to receive and place on file a report from James Wood, Superintendent of the Highways for the month of March 2014.
Have a motion.
So moved.
Mr. Wood, second.
Second.
Mr. Mannix, any discussion?
That's just amazing how many days, it always says plowed and sanded. It's continued.
Relative to sand, they have started the sweep, and as is most years, everybody gets anxious once it's done. We'll get to them as quickly as we can. There's a lot of sand out there. We haven't had a lot of rain to wash it away. They try to mix it up each year, so we don't consistently have one particular part of the town that hasn't been done, but the process has started. Hopefully the weather will hold and they'll be done quickly. Any other discussion? Roll call.
Thomas Wood,
Yes.
Martin Manning,
Yes.
Michael Cashman.
Yes.
Gerard Bernadette.
Yes.
Bernie Bassett.
Yes, resolution carries. Resolution 141, supervisors' monthly financial reports.
Resolved to receive and place on file the supervisor's financial report for the month of January, February, and March
Have a
2014.
motion.
So moved.
Mr. Renadette, second.
Second.
Mr. Wood, any discussion? Roll call.
Thomas Wood,
Yes.
Martin Manning,
Yes.
Michael Cashman.
Yes.
Gerard Bernadette.
Yes.
And Bernie Bassett.
Yes, the resolution carries. Resolution 141, recognition, President's Award to Chuck Costick.
Whereas the town of Plattsburgh recognizes that voluntary services to our community are both valuable and necessary part of the quality of life. Whereas the town board chooses to recognize individuals where they serve their community in a manner worthy of commendation. Therefore be resolved that the town of Plattsburgh Town Board recognizes and commends Chuck Polisty, a resident of the town of Plattsburgh and a member of the Katyville Volunteer Fire Department, for his service and recent recognition as a recipient of the Clinton County Firemen's Association President's Award. And it be further resolved that the supervisor write a letter of recognition to Mr. Polisty acknowledging his achievement and the town's appreciation for his service to our community.
Have a motion.
So moved.
Mr. Renadette, second.
Second.
Mr. Wood, any discussion? Roll call.
Thomas Wood,
Yes.
Martin Manning,
Yes.
Michael Cashman.
Yes.
Gerard Bernadette.
Yes.
Bernie Bassett.
Yes, resolution carries. Resolution 143, Eastern Adirondack Healthcare Network donation.
Whereas Eastern Adirondack Healthcare Network shares the same goals as the town in providing opportunities for seniors and youth to be active in and out of doors. Whereas there is a need for different equipment to be used for seniors and youth recreation programs. And whereas Eastern Adirondack Healthcare Network has donated 5 Garmin E-Trex 20 GPS units to the Park and Recreation Department. Therefore be resolved that the Town of Plattsburgh Town Board agrees to accept the donation of said equipment and wishes to thank the Eastern Healthcare Network Association for providing the community of the town residents to use the Garmin Trex GPS units to further enjoy our parks. And it be further resolved that a copy of this resolution be given to the finance manager and a copy also be given to the youth and recreation director.
Have a motion.
So moved.
Mr. Cashman, second.
Second.
Mr. Mannix, any discussion?
I'd like to see it also added that Eastern Adirondack Healthcare Network receive a copy of the resolution. I know that Mel was very appreciative of this donation during our recent committee meeting, so.
I will do that along with a letter of appreciation. Any other discussion? Okay, roll call.
Thomas Wood,
Yes.
Martin Manning,
Yes.
Michael Cashman.
Yes.
Gerard Bernadette.
Yes.
Bernie Bassett.
Yes, resolution carries. Resolution 144, Joe Dupree, letter of resignation and retirement.
Whereas Joe Dupree, water and wastewater maintenance worker 2, has submitted a letter of resignation announcing his intent to retire effective April 29, 2014. Therefore be resolved that the town board, with appreciation of many years of quality service to the town of Plattsburgh, accept and place on file Mr. Dupree's letter of resignation and retirement. And it be further resolved that the supervisor send a letter of congratulations on behalf of the town board, thanking Mr. Dupree for his dedication and years of service to the town. And it be further resolved that copies of this resolution be given to the finance manager, water and wastewater director, and a copy be placed in Mr. Dupree's personnel file.
Have a motion, please.
So moved.
Mr. Renadette, second.
Second.
Mr. Wood, any discussion?
I think it's noteworthy that you leaving the job with members of having worked with a great group of people. I think that's one of the things that we pride ourselves on. We have a great group of workers in this town, and they do a good job. And he was one of them.
Very much so. Joe will be a loss. He's a good worker, a hard worker, and a skilled worker. So, You're absolutely right, Tom. Any other discussion? Roll call.
Thomas Wood,
Yes.
Mark Manning,
Yes.
Michael Con.
Yes.
Gerard Rendick.
Yes.
Ray Zach.
Yes, resolution carries. Resolution 145, request to attend annual New York American Waterworks Association's technical conference.
Whereas the town of Plattsburgh Water and Wastewater Department is required to maintain professional training and licenses. Whereas it is also in the best interest of the town to remain current and informed concerning changes in the water and wastewater regulations, technology updates, and related system deficiencies. Therefore, be resolved that the Water and Wastewater Director, Scott Stoddard, be allowed to attend the American Wastewater Association Annual Conference and Exposition held on June 9th through June 13th, 2014 in Boston, Massachusetts. And it be further resolved that $1,459.17 for lodging and meals, and $980 for registration, and $213.56 for tolls, ferry, and hotel parking will be charged to the Water and Wastewater Department budget. And that a copy of this resolution be given to the budget officer, Water and Wastewater Director, in one place in Mr. Stoddard's personnel file.
Have a motion.
So moved.
Mr. Wood, second.
Second.
Mr. Mannings, any discussion?
In doing a little research online, one of the things that I came across was this conference actually ends at noon on June 12th. So I'd like to see if we're going to pass this resolution potentially, to see that changed. It's in Boston. It's definitely within a day's drive, that they could potentially come back the same day. So workshops end at noon.
So they don't end on here, it says 4 o'clock? Or is that just the regular days?
Needing to pull that up again, but I did some quick research before the board meeting, so.
Yeah, you can pull up the program.
Yeah, that's what I had earlier. Conference program is from June 8th to the 12th. Well, there seems to be some pre-conferencing, which he's not put down here. With the program schedule, again, Sunday, June 8th, with June 12th, workshops ending at noon. So I'd like to motion that we table this. Again, the conference is a little ways off. I'd just like all the details to be tightened up. I think it's only equitable, considering that's what we've asked from all the other department heads when they've been going to conferencing. Money is certainly a situation that we continue to look at, but I just want the details to be pulled together.
So I think that's reasonable in light of that schedule. We have a motion to table. Mr. Cashman, do we have a second on that
Second.
motion?
Second.
Mr. Renedick, do we have any discussion on the motion to table?
Yes, there were 2 resolutions, and then one is for another person, and it's the same department and the same trip. So I'm assuming that even though they have different titles and they do different things, that the conference will end for that person at the same time. But I don't know, there was a question also on why one cost more for registration than the other,
Again,
and that was due to the fact of the titles, I guess.
having done some very quick research off of this myself, I think that's correct, but again, part of the reason I want this tabled is I want that information to be tightened up.
Okay, well, at least it was sent in email, I just, so I think that's the case, but I did not know that it ended at noon, so that's good, I'm glad you brought that up.
We will get the answer to that question. We have a motion to table, we have a second, any other discussion? If not, roll call on the motion to table.
Thomas Wood,
Is there a deadline for registration?
I'm sure there is, but I don't think that will be a problem.
Yes.
Again, it's that far out. And I think they pre-register because you have to save the room. and then cancel if you don't go.
Okay.
Yeah,
My vote is yes then.
yeah, I'm not seeing it here.
Thomas Wood,
Oh, I'm sorry, I thought you did call it already. Yes.
Mark Manning,
Yes.
Michael Cash.
Yes.
Gerard Ritter,
Yes.
Bernie Bassett.
Yes, the resolution is tabled. We will go to Resolution 146, request to attend American Water Works Annual Conference and Exposition.
Motion on the table.
Well, for purposes of discussion.
For the record,
we have
the
to
audio,
first
we
put
should
it on.
put it on
First put it on.
First, yeah.
I'll offer to sponsor that resolution.
Well, let's get it read so it's part of the public record and for anybody who might be listening.
Whereas the town of Plattsburgh Water and Wastewater Department is required to maintain professional training and licensing. Whereas it is also in the best interest of the town to remain current and informed concerning changes in the water and wastewater regulations, technology updates, and related system efficiency. Therefore, be resolved that Paul Wright, Water and Wastewater Department Assistant Superintendent, be allowed to attend the annual Water Wastewater Annual Conference and Exposition held June 9th through the 13th in Boston, Massachusetts. And it be further resolved that $1,459.17 for lodging and meals and $880 registration for the conference from Mr. Wright be charged to the Water and Wastewater Department budget. A copy of this resolution be given to the budget officer, Water and Wastewater Director, and one place in Mr. Wright's personnel file.
Do we have a motion to table?
So moved.
Mr. Cashman, second on the motion to table.
Second.
Mr. Mannix, any discussion on that motion?
My question was, does it first have to be voted on as a motion to all that we have?
Prior to table.
All that we have
I'm
right
not
now
sure,
is it's been read.
let's pedal backwards and do that just to be sure, and we'll continue there.
I'll move the original resolution.
Put it on the table, Mr. Renadette, second to get it on the table.
Second.
Mr. Wood. Now, we've had
Then we have
lots
a
of
motion to
discussion, a motion to table, a second with that, any discussion about the motion to table? If not, we'll roll call on the motion to table.
Thomas Wood,
Yes.
Mark Manning,
Yes.
Michael Cashman.
Yes.
Gerard Ritter.
Yes.
Bernie Bassett.
Yes, resolution 146 will be tabled to next Monday. Resolution 147, special meeting notice.
Whereas the town board meeting dates are established at an organizational meeting in January. And whereas occasionally it may be necessary for the supervisor to call for a special meeting to address certain matters to tend to special issues. Therefore, be resolved that the town of Plattsburgh Town Board does hereby schedule a special meeting to be held on Tuesday, May 8th, 2014 at 4:30 p.m. prevailing time to discuss collective bargaining negotiations per Article 14 of the Civil Service Law, and to hear all other matters that may come before the board at that time. And it be further resolved that the town clerk has a notice of said meeting placed in the of interest section of the Press Republican, and also posted on the town clerk's bulletin board, and placed on the town of Plattsburgh website.
Have a motion.
So moved.
Mr. Renadette, second.
Second.
Mr. Wood, any discussion?
This would be pretty much executive session as far as we know at this point.
At this point, that's the motive, but as the resolution indicates, we may also have business that has to be dealt with. I've rarely seen us get together and not have something come up, but
Well, generally speaking, we're going to go into the
the
executive
purpose
session.
is to discuss collective bargaining negotiations, which would be an executive session.
And I might add that it might take a while.
It will.
So you know.
It will. Any other discussion? Roll call.
Thomas Wood,
Yes.
Mark Manning,
Yes.
Michael
Yes.
Cashman.
Say
Wood,
yes.
yes.
Oh, I didn't hear him. Gerard Ritter.
Yes.
Bernie Bassett.
Yes, resolution carries. Resolution 148, annual examination of town fiscal records by the audit committee.
Whereas the town board is responsible for the general management and control of the town finances, town law, section 64, section 1. And an important aspect of this responsibility is to provide a process to monitor and review on a routine basis the work performed by those who handle money as part of their town duties. And whereas in an effort to improve accountability and controls over finance and records, the town auditing committee and finance manager have reviewed the fiscal records of the town clerk, town justices, and town tax receiver as per regulation. And whereas the town clerk, town justices, and tax receivers' records have been provided to the full board for review. Excuse me. And whereas after careful review of said records, the audit committee has prepared and presented a report of their findings to the town board for review and approval. Now therefore be resolved that the annual audit as prepared and submitted by the town of Plattsburgh auditing committee be accepted and placed on file as per regulations, and that the copy of this resolution be given to the finance manager.
A motion.
Excuse me.
So moved.
Mr. Woods, second, Mr. Cashman. Any discussion?
With, the recommendations, are these just recommendations, or are the particular people, whether it's the clerk or the tax receiver or justices, are they to implement these particular, I think the comments and conclusions, but are they supposed to implement those?
There was some question, Tom, and in the town clerk's office, there was a snafu of sorts with some Great Escape tickets, and it ended up being on Great Escape's end, not on our end. They didn't realize, am I stating that correctly? Because I know you did too.
I understand.
And it was, so what we've recommended, and what Pat has recommended, is to develop a better internal control over those. There's other recommendations. A lot of them were initiated by Pat, and we talked about it, and we concurred. That's why our signatures are at the bottom of each page. For the most part, there were no major problems. He goes on to say that the deposits are made in a timely manner. The accounting was completed, and all the books were balanced. I'm sorry, go ahead.
Well, I was going to say, the big piece that I think that Gerard and I brought to the attention was for the court, to try to move that forward, and we hope to see that done in the next, couple of weeks and months as we move forward. The other piece of the puzzle, as a new council member, having gone through this process, and then when we do our larger auditing, I think it will provide us some bookends to see, what's going on both ends and what's, in between. So having lots of conversations with Gerard, lots of conversations with Pat, and some of the increased suggestions on those, I think will streamline some of the processes.
So in other words, deposits could probably, was there a particular reason, inherent reason that, maybe perhaps those didn't get deposited?
There wasn't anything specific there. I think the internal control piece was a big thing for me with the tickets, and that's not to put blame on the clerk's office. If anything, that's to say, hey, we were working with a vendor, they were not numbered in the way that we were hoping to receive them. Let's tighten up that processes. In addition to the court, there's some of the other municipalities in the region that are using this system, and let's investigate it, both time, money, and energy, to streamline that process to bring in revenues. I think we've had some conversations. If someone's from Vermont and they get some type of ticket, well, why not have them be able to pay online and get those revenues back into the town quicker? So.
I think the only issue that came up with deposits might have been as a result of an illness or something in the clerk's office, so the deposits were made. And it's not just, we're mentioning clerk's office, it's not just the clerk's office.
Yeah, well, I noticed that.
It could be any of the offices, but I know the comment was made there. I think at that time, there was like one or two deposits that weren't made timely. And by timely, they were made within the prescribed time period, but not as quickly as an audit would have liked to see them done. It was as a result of illness, that's all.
So we're doing real well then so far, and everything's balanced.
Very good.
Any other discussion? Roll call.
Thomas Wood?
Yes.
Martin Mannix?
Yes.
Michael Cash?
Yes.
Gerard Renzo?
Yes.
Bernie Bassett?
Yes, the resolution carries, and I should have mentioned before, again, thank you to the committee. Internal checks and balances are important for a number of reasons. It's also a process that you get some good hands-on information, and our staff knows that internally we're also monitoring the activity. But it takes time, and we appreciate your efforts.
Well, it's a pretty exhausting process to go through all those audits, so we do appreciate that.
Audit committee is very busy with the vouchers, the abstracts, and duties like this. It's a committee that's a very busy committee with a lot of responsibility.
I gotta say that Pat has made this audit the easiest audit that I've ever been involved in. It's, you know, he was able to show us exactly where we should be looking. He had done a pre-audit, so he had taken a look at where there were some problem areas and pointed them out to us. And again, the problem areas are minor, but being a former employee of the comptroller's office doesn't think anything's minor.
Expertise makes a difference.
That's right.
Resolution 149, junkyard license renewal for 225 Ruger Street.
Whereas the town clerk has received an application and fees for a license to operate a junkyard business from Ed Champagne at 225 River Street. And whereas Steve Imhoff, code enforcement officer, has completed the inspection of the junkyard, and the applicant is in compliance, now therefore be resolved that the town board does hereby receive and place on file said application and authorize the town clerk to issue a junkyard license to the aforementioned applicant in compliance with the letter issued by Steve Imhoff, code enforcement officer of the town of Plattsburgh. And it be further resolved that a copy of this resolution be given to the finance manager, town clerk, and the codes department.
Have a motion.
So moved.
Mr. Cashman, second.
Second.
Mr. Mannix, any discussion? Roll call.
Thomas Wood,
Yes.
Martin Manning,
Yes.
Michael Cash,
Yes.
Gerard Bernadette,
Yes.
Bernie Bassett.
Yes, resolution carries. Resolution 150, junkyard license renewal for 28 Flanagan Drive.
Whereas the town clerk has received an application and fees for a license to operate a junkyard business from Ricky Lyman Auto at 28 Flanagan Drive. And whereas Steve Lyman, code enforcement officer, has completed his inspection of the junkyard, and the applicant is in compliance. Now therefore be resolved that the town board, town of Plattsburgh, does hereby receive and place on file said applicant and authorize the town clerk to issue a junkyard license to the aforementioned applicant in compliance with the letter issued by Steve Imhoff, code enforcement officer of the town of Plattsburgh. And it be further resolved that a copy of this resolution be given to the finance manager, town clerk, and the codes department.
Have a motion.
So moved.
Mr. Renadette, second.
Second.
Mr. Wood, any discussion? Roll call.
Thomas Wood,
Yes.
Martin Manning,
Yes.
Michael Cash.
Yes.
Gerard Bernadette.
Yes.
Bernie Bassett.
Yes, resolution carries. Resolution 151, junkyard license renewal for 55 Hammond Lane.
Whereas the town clerk has received an application and fees for a license to operate a junkyard business from Phyllis Palmer of 55 Hammond Lane. And whereas Steve Imhoff, code enforcement officer, has completed the inspection of the junkyard and the applicant is in compliance. Now therefore be resolved that the town board does hereby receive and place on file said applicant and authorize the town clerk to issue a junkyard license to the aforementioned applicant in compliance with the letter issued by Steve Imhoff, code enforcement officer of the town of Plattsburgh. And it be further resolved that a copy of this resolution be given to the finance manager, town clerk, and the codes department.
Have a motion.
So moved.
Mr. Mannix, second.
Second.
Mr. Wood, any discussion? Roll call.
Thomas Wood,
Yes.
Martin Manning,
Yes.
Michael Cash.
Yes.
Gerard Bernadette.
Yes.
Bernie Bassett.
Yes, resolution carries. Resolution 152, junkyard license renewal for 271 Ruger.
Whereas the town clerk has received an application and fees for a license to operate a junkyard business from Edward Champagne of 271 River Street. And whereas Steve Imhoff, code enforcement officer, has completed inspection of the junkyard and the applicant is in compliance. Now therefore be resolved that the town board does hereby receive and place on file said applicant and authorize the town clerk to issue a junkyard license to the aforementioned applicant in compliance with the letter issued by Steve Limehoff, Code Enforcement Officer of the town of Plattsburgh. And it be further resolved that a copy of this resolution be given to the finance manager, town clerk, and the codes department.
Have a motion.
So moved.
Mr. Woods, second.
Second.
Mr. Cashman, any discussion? Roll call.
Thomas Wood,
Yes.
Martin Manick,
Yes.
Michael Cashman.
Yes.
Gerard Renadette.
Yes.
Bernie Bassett.
Yes, resolution carries. I just want to note, 9 years I've been around and I know, Ricky, you've been trying to get things out, you've been getting things out earlier, I shouldn't say trying, getting the response, the applications, the permit fees from our junkyards happen in the most timely fashion yet. And that's good. As we've said many times, they are a necessary part of the community. We do have to have a place to dispose of vehicles and tires and metals. But it's good to see the yards working with you. You're the first line, Rick, and it's good. I appreciate your getting after them and our codes officer getting out there so we aren't back against the wall facing expiration of a permit. It's the way it should be done.
I think this was the first year in a long list of years that it was the easiest and everybody was in compliance way ahead of time.
That's good because this has been very contentious in the past, so appreciate everybody's efforts on that. I have no other resolutions on the agenda. Remind everyone, next Monday we begin our community outreach meetings. I believe we start, first of all, in Cumberland Head, and then we, Wallace Hill
Wallace Hill.
at the rec center, and then we go to Cumberland Head at the fire department. And hopefully we'll have a lot of our community members out there. We'll be doing some business, but also a chance to hear from residents from that part of the community. Do we have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Mr. Renadette, second. Mr. Wood, any discussion? Roll call?
Thomas Wood,
Yes.
Martin Manick,
Yes.
Michael Cashman.
Yes.
Gerard Renadette.
Yes.
Bernie Bassett.
Yes, we will stand adjourned at 7:32.